Hello everyone and welcome to JoJolion Chapter 81 review and discussion. Experimenting with a new camera angle and backdrop for this review. In the last 3 chapter reviews since I moved, I felt like the backdrop was just full of too much empty space and it just looked kind of weird, so the wall that you guys usually see is now in front of me, and behind me you guys see where I edit and make videos, and it's nice because I can put a JoJolion chapter cover on my vertical monitor, so let me know if you guys like this new camera angle. I'm liking it so far because I can sit instead of stand now. But anyways, let's get into the chapter. This one is titled The University Hospital and Equivalent Exchange Part 5. So this arc is really getting up there. Not quite the longest arc in JoJolion yet, but give it a few more chapters and it definitely will be. And considering that the fight against Wu Tomoki has not yet concluded, I think this is going to be one of, if not the longest chapter in JoJolion until we get into even later in the part. So to start off this chapter, the first thing we see is the cover page. Unfortunately, JoJolion was not on the cover of Ultra Jump this month, but it's okay, let another series have it. I mean, JoJolion's on Ultra Jump 90% of the year, so for the 3 months that JoJolion's not on the Ultra Jump cover, let's let those other series get some spotlight in Ultra Jump. But starting on the cover page, what we see is just information about rock humans. And I swear we had seen this before. You see Yotsuyu, the I am a rock user from way earlier in the part, the first rock human that Josuke actually fought against. I think that's correct, it might be. You guys will correct me, but yeah, we just see characteristics of them and also a recap on the rock animals. So what we have here about rock humans, like a long lifespan, good health, it's pretty much not really a cover page, but we've already seen all of this information before in JoJolion, so I'm a bit disappointed by this cover page, because if you go back, I'll show them on screen now, but in chapter 46, I believe it was the fight against the Aphex brothers, maybe Love Love Deluxe part 3 or 4, something like that. We got 4 whole pages that showed us all the anatomy of rock humans, so much scientific data about them, things about their theology, their philosophy, their eating habits, how they use language, just so much. It was a huge information dump about rock humans, so I don't really see the need for this cover page other than just to remind us. And also, it looks like it contradicts a little bit. It says major characteristics of rock humans, and the last one is that it says are stand users, when before it said that only 95% of rock humans were stand users. So I don't know, maybe all rock humans are stand users now, or I'm just, nitpicking this a little too much, but before it was 95, now it's R stand users. Which one is it, a Rocky? 95% or all of them? But anyways, that's all there is to know about rock humans, pretty much just a brief description of what we've already seen before in the part. And then at the bottom, it has the rock animals, or at least some of the rock animals. It's kind of funny. People have been memeing this. So it shows do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then the hair clip. It tells what they do. And then at the bottom, it has Dolomite. And it makes it look like Dolomite is a rock animal. It says, he feasts off frogs and algae. And he's grouped in with the hair clip and do, re, mi. So it's is Dolomite a rock animal now? He's not a rock human at all? Because I assume if, a Rocky wanted us to think he was a rock human, he would be up there with Yotsuyu. And that's also the same exact image we saw in chapter 49 of Yotsuyu. He couldn't show us anyone else. I think we saw 3 rock humans in total that were in hibernation during this part, but I guess he goes with the same image. But anyways, I guess Dolomite is he's a rock animal now, even though before in his flashback, he was a normal human, he ate the Rokakaka, and then this happened to him, so whatever. Dolomite's a rock animal now, guys. That's just how it is. So now getting into the actual chapter itself, what we start off with is a really nice half page of Wu Tomoki's face, fading away sort of the I don't feel good thing, but he just looks really cool. We've been seeing a lot of awesome panels with him the past 2 chapters since seeing Tomoki's stand ability, the way it works. But in this page right here, we get a full description of it, which heavily seems to contradict what we've seen the stand actually do. So we know that he can break his body down, and because of that, we've seen him do really cool stuff, like make his rocks fly around the room, crawl up people's skin and enter through their bodies and sort of have chemical reactions with their skin and destroy them from the inside, and also be able to control people. If you guys remember 2 chapters ago when oh my god, I cannot believe I'm forgetting her name. Mitsuba, guys. Trust me, that wasn't that long of a cut. I didn't go back and read. I remember Mitsuba. Forgive me, guys. Come on. She's a little bit new into the part here. We haven't seen her in 3 years. So yeah, I'm still getting used to having this character in the part. So we saw Mitsuba have a dramatic character shift where everyone was like, dude, she has to be being controlled by something. And then once we learned that Tomoki's stand ability was to go inside people, it all kind of made sense. All the pieces aligned where it was like, okay, he goes inside them and then he's able to control them. But that's actually not the case. What it says here is that the particles have no real power themselves. They can move by riding the wind caused by air conditioners and reform to the original body. And that is just totally not true with what we've seen the stand do. Unless the stand is working with another stand user that hasn't been revealed yet, and other doctors and other people in the hospital are stand users. Because what we saw the stand do first is control people, or Mitsuba was just having a really weird change in character to make her look really intimidating and create tension into the next chapter. So that seems weird. And also, we've seen the stand crawl up people. And what about the thing with Yasuo's cell phone where two rocks clashed and it created like an electric shock that made Yasuo drop her phone? It's just, this stand, if everything we've seen in the past 2 chapters is just Wu Tomoki's stand, which by the way has a name, which is Dr. Wu, kind of disappointing because we thought, oh, Wu Tomoki, that's clearly a reference to Steely Dan's song Dr. Wu. But it looks like his name and his stand are the same musical reference. So I was hoping for something a little bit different, but that's just fine. So back to Dr. Wu, we know what the stand's called now. We saw it crawl up Yasuo's legs and very clearly be moving on their own and being controlled by Tomoki. But now we're being said that the stand can only move when it's being influenced by air or the air conditioner. I'm not buying that, Araki. Or maybe like something ridiculous, like the air conditioner was on, thus the particles were being able to move up Yasuo's legs or whatever, but I don't know. That seems like it's contradicting itself. And beyond just having Dr. Wu explain further, we just learn a little bit more than Tomoki, you know, his philosophy of never losing, or it's not even really a philosophy, it's just a characteristic of him, how he never loses, and everything he does to the fullest of his abilities, and he's always successful at it. And the most important fact is that there are no records of him ever having unpaid taxes, so Tomoki is a good boy and pays his taxes. So another chapter pretty much picks up right where it left off on chapter 80. We had that big shock panel of Mitsuba's unborn baby, what we would assume to be dead, because she went through the equivalent exchange process of fixing her legs, and then her body was perfectly healthy. So she was thinking, what could I possibly have lost after Yasuo explained equivalent exchange? And then we saw that the little hands made of rocks were clearly her the unborn fetus's hands, which was like really dark, man. It really put like a whole different perspective on this arc, and just like really how dark JoJolion's getting right now. So what we thought is that her unborn baby has died, and like Mitsuba is totally just in shock, and that caused her to summon her stand ability. And people were wondering that did Mitsuba become a stand user right now because of this distress, but I don't think so. I think Mitsuba's been a stand user for many years because she clearly knew how her stand worked. She knew its name, she just called it out, and she looked like she knew what she was doing. And of course, Awaken 3 Leaves was the stand that we were introduced to last chapter, and it's really cool. It can place 3 arrows on the ground, and it can move anything and change the momentum with those arrows. So she can put all 3 down in the same spot to have a crazy amount of power going to one direction, or if she has something coming at her from all directions, well, I guess she can't really cover herself in a 360-degree way. I guess she could only put an arrow in front of her, to the left, and to the right. So I guess she has to make some sort of a trade-off if she's being attacked from all angles. But for the most part, she can deflect attacks really well. So the fight against Mitsuba, Yasuo, and Tomoki is continuing. We just see some more action between them and some more dialogue from Tomoki, seeing more into his character and his personality and more of his philosophy and the way he views people. So it's pretty much the same viewpoint from every villain in JoJo, how they see who we would consider the protagonist to be evil and them to be just. He says that you are the evil ones. I want to state that clearly. That the incorrect ones are you and Josuke Higashikata, the ones that are working against our mission of using the Rokakaka as medicine and, you know, turning it into technology. And he explains more how what he does is that he grants people their desires. He heals them. And people were considering that, you know, maybe the hospital is using the Rokakaka to extort people, which definitely seemed to be the case. How, you know, they fix one issue and cause another. So people have to continue to come back to the hospital to get themselves fixed. As we saw with Mitsuba, she racked up a really huge hospital bill. I think it was over like 200,000 yen. I think it was around there. So really expensive hospital bills, getting people to come back constantly and constantly, but that doesn't seem to be like his philosophy. It might be sort of an effect of that turns out to be good, like we're able to heal people and also we make a decent profit off it, but he's not really seeing the full picture here. He just thinks that he's healing people and he's fixing what they want fixed, but he's not, I'm sure he realizes it, but he hasn't yet quite had that epiphany that he's not really helping people. He's just, prolonging what they really need fixed, because nothing ever really gets fixed with a Rokakaka. And I think Tomoki definitely understands that. He knows what he's doing is not perfect, and that's why he's continuing his studies on the Rokakaka, and he's continuing to experiment with them to try to make it perfect. And what I think he needs and what he's in search for is the new Rokakaka branch. That's why we saw Tomoki at the Higashikata family taking what he thought was the branch, but that's actually not the branch. The real branch is with Jobin and Tsurugi, and that plot point right now hasn't really gone anywhere, and it hasn't been mentioned in a few chapters now, so I'm anticipating seeing where that whole thing goes and what they actually do with the new Rokakaka. And during this whole process, a new Rokakaka it's being grown right now. I can't remember exactly how long they said it would take for a new Rokakaka to grow, but it's not that long. It's not like a year or anything, so considering how much time is being taken up in this fight in the hospital, during this whole time, the new Rokakaka is in the process of being grown, so that might come into the story very soon, and we might actually see a new one be used in some way. So with Tomoki declaring that he believes he is in the right, and Yasuo and Josuke and everyone helping them are the enemies, Mitsuba does like the coolest move with awakening 3 leaves. So this whole fight right now is taking place in an elevator. And you guys, you know that effect where you're in an elevator, and then once you get to the floor that you're on, you sort of have like this it's like I don't know what the exact word would be, but it's sort of like a change in momentum where everything inside your body sort of jumps a little bit, and it feels cool. If you ever do the thing where you're with a bunch of friends or something, and then you jump once you get to the top, you can sort of like expedite the effect. That's probably dangerous. Don't do that. But anyways, so once they reach the top, Mitsuba puts the arrows facing upwards. So once they get there, that force is like, it's like insane amount of force that happens once they reach the top, and Tomoki is just flattened onto the ground, and then they tape him up. They have like duct tape, and once he's like his particles are like, he's half, solid, half sort of just particles, and they tape him down, and they get him fully locked down into the ground. So they buy themselves some time to escape from Tomoki. And what they're in search for now is because Yasuo mentioned that she saw a room full of Rokakakas, and once she mentioned that to Mitsuba's like, we need to find that, because she doesn't really know if her baby's dead or not. She asked Yasuo, like, do you think the baby's gone? And then Yasuo was like, I don't know, maybe, because like the hands don't look dead to them. Although the hands are made of rock, she's like, I think the hands are still alive. So what their current goal is to get to the room with all the Rokakakas and have Mitsuba use one so she can exchange something on her body and get her fetus back. So with Mitsuba's new goal of trying to save her unborn baby that she thought had died, we see her use Awaken 3 Leaves in a way that's not just for combat, that's actually really cool. So she puts an arrow onto the hands and then onto her stomach, and she shoots the hands back into her stomach, and I guess back towards the baby. I feel like this wouldn't really work if you had to be really careful and really precise with stands. I feel like the stand sort of just like inside her head, the stand knows what she wants to do, and it just kind of makes it happen, because it just happens really quick. She's just like, get in their hands and just like get back in the baby. So I guess it kind of works in the end. She's not scarred or anything. It doesn't leave any wound or anything. The arms just go right and back into her body, but they are disassembled. So I believe what she would be thinking right now is that, okay, the hands are back into my stomach. The baby is probably turned to stone right now, but it's still in there. Now that all the pieces are back in, all I need to do is eat the Rokakaka, and then I will exchange something like my eyesight or my hand or my mouth or just something crazy like that. But as long as I get my baby back, it'll be okay. So when they're on their way, Yasuo and Mitsuba, to find that room full of Rokakakas, Yasuo runs into an old friend, her ex-boyfriend, who actually seems like a really cool guy. He has a nice design. He has curly hair with like a white swirl in it. So at first, Yasuo's ex-boyfriend is pretty friendly. He's just like, hey, Yasuo, how's it going? I work in this hospital now. And Yasuo is really in a hurry right now. She's fighting an enemy stand. She's trying to help Mitsuba. All this stuff's going on. She's trying to find Josuke. So she's being a little bit rude. She's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, and then she's like, I gotta go. Also, like, she's just in a panic right now. She's like, if you see this guy Josuke, tell him to meet me on the 3rd floor. And this guy is like, I guess he turns into like a little brat now because he assumes that Josuke is Yasuo's new boyfriend, which he kind of is. And he just gets like really pissy with her. And before Yasuo, he was going into the elevator, and Yasuo was like, wait, don't go into the elevator. It's dirty. AKA there's an enemy stand user in there taped to the floor, so don't go in. And this guy, now that learning out that Yasuo is with a new man right now, replaced him with Josuke, he's like, oh, why is it dirty? Did you piss on the floor or something? So he turns into kind of a shithead after he thinks that Yasuo has a new boyfriend, but whatever. We'll see later in the chapter that this guy might actually play an important role in JoJolion, being some sort of ally or some sort of villain, but we'll get into that later. So at this point, Yasuo and Mitsuba finally locate the room where the new Rokakakas are stored, and it's behind like this huge safe that really reminds me of where the corpse parts were stored that we saw in Steel Ball Run and in The Legend of Johnny Joestar in this part. And what they see here is that Paisley Park does its hacker woman ability of just being able, so Paisley Park originally went in to try to unlock the door, but while they were doing it, they were able to access a security video that showed people, so before you go into the room with the Rokakakas, whoever it is at the hospital, whatever surgeon or anyone that's going to be working with them needs to watch the instructional video recorded by Wu Tomiki himself. So for pretty much a remainder of this chapter, it's really hefty. It's probably like 1/3 of this entire chapter is just taken up with a big explanation of equivalent exchange by Wu Tomiki. But it's not like the other explanations of equivalent exchange we've had that are just like narrated over panels and stuff. It's a more in-depth explanation that talks about how they use the Rokakaka scientifically and how they use it for surgery. Like this one lady wanted lips, but there wasn't really anything wrong with her. So what they did is that they, as soon as she ate the Rokakaka, they sort of stabbed her lips, and then there was something wrong with her lips, so it healed her lips and removed something from her. I believe it was like the skin on her buttocks or something. Yeah, her ass got a little bit less thick, but she got thicker lips. So I guess that's a good exchange, maybe. So they talk about how they don't exactly know how the Rokakaka works. They know that it exchanges from something and it can be anywhere. Say someone comes in with a broken finger and they want their finger fixed. If they eat a piece of the Rokakaka, it is technically equivalent exchange, but it could come from anywhere on the body. It could come from your torso, your limbs, or even a little part of your brain. It's really random. And the reason why Wu Tomiki's ability works well with using the Rokakaka on people is that he can sort of manipulate the use of the Rokakaka and make it choose something else to take from people. So when they eat the Rokakaka, sort of particles will go throughout the person and then take them from them. But what Wu can do with his stand is that he can go into people and block off blood vessels that the piece of the Rokakakas would go to take from. So Wu Tomiki is really the only person that can safely perform these Rokakaka operations. So anytime he does an operation on someone, he always makes sure that he's blocking off the brain, because that's obviously the most important part. If you lose just a little part of it, it could leave you brain dead. So I guess that's a little bit better, and they're finding more ways to use the Rokakaka safely, but it's still not perfect by any means. And I think after this explanation, this would mark probably the 8th or 9th time we've had equivalent exchange explained to us through either characters or narrations in JoJolion. It's become pretty redundant at this point. I mean, we know what equivalent exchange is. If you've been reading JoJolion throughout the entire part, there's no way you couldn't know what it does. But I guess this was just a more scientific and longer explanation, but I really don't think we needed this. I mean, all we really needed to know was that Wu Tomiki uses his stand during operations, and just a little bit of how the operations work. But this just seemed like a bit much. It was a lot of dialogue to explain this. So I hope that we will never get another explanation for equivalent exchange again in this part. We've had enough of them. They just feel like filler content right now, and every time I reach an explanation, it's just like, oh, here we go again. But anyways, after they watch the little instruction video, it's like those videos you would watch at, like, you know, if you're applying for a new job or something, and you have to watch some like instruction videos. It was like that, but narrated by Wu Tomiki. He's like sitting at a desk. It was pretty funny seeing him like actually with the Rokakakas. But then Paisley Park finally unlocks the room, and Yasuo and Mitsuba have access to the Rokakakas. We see the branch, we see the fruits, everything they get in there. But then it cuts it away. And how much you guys want to bet that in the next chapter they're not able to access the Rokakakas? How much you want to bet Wu Tomiki comes back and they fight even more in this room? Or who knows, Mitsuba will actually get to eat one, but it might not be safe to eat one without Wu. Maybe they'll find a way to have Wu sort of like attack her, or maybe force Wu to use her stand on Mitsuba, like maybe Yasuo or Josuke hold, like this has got what's his name? Tomiki, like by the throat or something. It's like, use your stand on Mitsuba right now and protect her brain, or I'm gonna kill you. Maybe something like that will happen, but Anyways, into the final page of the chapter now, we see Yasuo's ex-boyfriend who actually did track down Josuke. Yasuo explained, like, he's in a sailor hat, you can't miss him. He's with his friend, he's wearing plant clothes, he's got beans on him, you can't miss these guys. They're sticking out like sore thumbs. They look like anime characters. So he finally reaches them, and he's like, hey, you guys, you need to meet Yasuo on the 3rd floor. And they turn around, and they're like, who are you? Or at least Mamazuku says, who are you? And he says, I'm her ex-boyfriend. And then this guy actually has a really interesting design. He's got patterned pants, and obviously, you know a character is important in JoJo when their stomach's showing. That's a trademark JoJo main character, or at least an important character, as we've been seeing in the Part 5 anime right now. If a character's stomach is showing, they're gonna be a minor villain, or they're gonna be an ally. So I don't really know what to think of Yasuo's ex-boyfriend as of right now. It might be really easy to just say that he's gonna be a minor villain and be a roadblock in one way or another for the main cast to, you know, try to get through. And he probably will be that, but I don't know if he's going to be a stand user. It really looks like he will be, considering how thoughtful his design is. And even on his right arm, we see some sort of like teddy bear stuffed animal that might reflect his stand in some way. But with a character with this well thought out of a design, I couldn't imagine him not being a stand user. But is he a rock human? I'm not sure. He's working at a hospital, which, you know, alludes to him being that, but he grew up with Yasuo. He was her ex-boyfriend in high school. I don't know if I don't know if that's characteristics of a rock human, because it was said earlier before I mentioned in this chapter in the cover page, it said rock humans can have sex with you know, regular humans, but they're incompatible. They can't procreate. And before, in chapter 46, I believe it was, when we were seeing more of like the whole description of rock humans, it was that rock humans do date, but 97% of rock human relationships end with breakups. And it's because the rock humans end up murdering their significant other. So Yasuo is still alive, and you know, maybe there might be he might fall in the statistic of the 3% that didn't end up murdering his significant other, but I don't know. He could be a rock human. It could not. I might be looking too deep into it, but he's going to be important in one way or another. Or he might be just sort of a wild card character that just shows up and gets in the way and is sort of, you know, in the dark about all the supernatural things happening in JoJolion. But, and also, why would he lie? If he's a villain and he doesn't like Josuke and he doesn't like Yasuo and he's mad at her, why wouldn't he just lie to Josuke and be like, hey, he just came up to him and was like, Yasuo's on the 3rd floor. She said she needs you. So I don't think he would be a villain. I think he would lie if he was a villain, and he would, you know, sort of just come up to them and maybe lure them to somewhere else. I don't think he would do exactly what Yasuo said. But anyways, guys, that concludes this chapter. This chapter was fairly average. Not too much happened. Just pretty much the fight with Tomoki continued, but didn't conclude. We finally got to the Rokakakas with Mitsuba and Yasuo, and we've met a new character being Yasuo's ex-boyfriend. I kind of like the guy right now. He's kind of a shithead, but he has a pretty cool design, and he's a more younger character. The younger characters are more fun. So maybe this guy will be a more likable character as the part goes on, and we might possibly see more from him. And he might be a stand user. If he is a stand user, that's going to be pretty crazy. JoJolion already has so many stands in it. Compared to Steel Ball Run only had like 19 stands. JoJolion, as of right now, it has like 23. Maybe even more if this guy ends up being a stand user. So more and more stuff happening for JoJolion. And, you know, already part 5 in this arc. Who the hell knows when this shit's going to end? But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching JoJolion Chapter 81 review and discussion. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter and maybe upcoming things you think that could be happening in JoJolion in the comments like always. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more. I'll talk to you guys later. All right, peace. Bye.